you twice a week, and then I'll assess you twice over the next 6 months, right? It doesn't work that way. To develop confidence in uncertainty, to develop communication skills, etc., you need a lot of face time with a mentor. And I think our school systems lack that, and we're not geared to develop it that way.
The school system cannot provide it. Is that what you're saying?
No, I think they can. There's a lot of regulation in the school system, structural regulation, things like scheduling, things like on a deeper level, the tuition costs really can only afford, our current levels of tuition at a deeper level can only really afford to bring forth to the students a certain amount of classroom time. I'll be more, so the teachers definitely are capable. I think the students are definitely intelligent enough. But a lot of times it's the structures we have in place in individual schools and the system as a whole that stops that from being optimal.
Okay, thank you. Secretary Baldos, in your report, you did say that you have been able to narrow the gap of the mismatch, the job mismatch. When you say you've been able to narrow it, how has that come about?
Narrowing the jobs and skills mismatch can be done in many ways, or can be viewed in many ways. There could be gaps because the demands of the market in terms of the requirement, the occupation and the skills required are not being disseminated, and that is where labor market information is very critical. Access, as I said, to timely and accurate and accessible information is that is one area where we are doing very well. We have tied up with our guidance counselors in schools. We used to have public employment service offices only with the LGU. Now we have peso-based schools, school-based peso, meaning right there in the school there is already a public employment service offices, which is our counterpart to carry all the labor market information. Where are the jobs that are in demand? Where are the jobs that are difficult to fill up? And this gives the signals not only to the students, the future job seekers, but even to the parents and of course the school owners and administrators. That's one area. And then the K-12 immediately removed the 2-year deficiency. I think we are the only country who have that deficiency, and that is the work of the government. We passed the law. And of course, the ongoing review of all the courses and curriculum where the industry is very much a part of the review and the redesign, so that all the courses would be able to improve graduates, as you are saying here, with higher employability. Yes. Because the needs of and requirements of the industry were taken into account.
Thank you, Secretary Balde. I'll just ask one more question of Chito here. The mismatch is sometimes attributed to courses that do not really service a particular industry or are not hireable. Have you seen any improvement over the last few years in terms of filling the gap between jobs and education?
Well, in terms of actual courses, the SHED has regulated and stopped the offering of some courses which I mentioned they feel oversubscribed, except that there's a counter to that which has not been as adequately met, which is there is a need to incentivize schools and students to enter programs where we need people. For example, we have a very low output of engineers in this country. Agri-B is also another area we do not have enough professionals. There has to be a way to incentivize and entice more students into these areas. So we've been busy stopping people from becoming nurses, but we have not been encouraging people to enter the degrees. As a solution, the kids who are not entering nursing, they're entering IT, HRM, or education. So we're still not seeing a growth, although recently civil engineering has grown. So we need to find ways to encourage this. But again, I think where there's an overemphasis on specific programs, when in today's world, a typical graduate, a young person of today will actually enter 6 different professions. So actually more. I think the idea is to build stronger capacity of competencies in numeracy, reading, communication skills, so that wherever they go in the workplace, they are employable.
Okay, so the GE is what we're talking about. I'd like to open the floor to questions now. Please take the mic, identify yourself, and pose your question. or let's post it on the wall. And while you're doing that, I don't see anybody at the microphone yet. Is there one? Yes. Yes, please. Could you pose your question?
My name is Joe Magsaysay. I represent the Management Association of the Philippines. When I came here, I was focused on the theme of this conference, investment, inclusive growth. And yet I hear, when we talk about education, it seems to me that education is focused on making people employable. Now, if we're going to compete in the AAC and other parts of the world, because right now we're known as the OFC source of the world. We're good in providing, BPOs, right? But can the schools, after doing basic education, train our people to be entrepreneurs? Because this is what we need to grow in this country. We cannot compete in AAC with just being employees, unless we want to compete as the biggest source of employment.
Okay, thank you for that question. Does anybody want to answer it?
Thank you. I can start the responses. The question really is about training them to be entrepreneurs, correct? So on a very broad picture, when we talk about employability, at least when we talk about it, entrepreneurship is seen as one of the ways of being employed. A lot of schools now are pushing degrees in entrepreneurship, to be very school specific, are pushing degrees in entrepreneurship really as one of the, if you will, one of the leading degrees in the field of business administration. The challenges though, so let's talk first about, just very quickly, the challenges of teaching entrepreneurship, number one, and number two, really what I feel is really the challenges of making it as an entrepreneur. So on the first part, that's really, I think, a school challenge. If you think about school scheduling and school assessments, meaning the midterm and the final, it's very hard to groom an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur goes through, as you know from all your readings and experiences, goes through a lot of trial and error. And so it's this iteration of trying projects and not making them work and trying again and then coming up with a suboptimal solution that might work in a different market. All this experiential learning is very hard to do in a classroom of about 40 kids. So there are programs in it, and those are being taught by schools, and there are faculty with deep entrepreneurial experiences. But it's just, I think, very difficult to teach. Now, the double challenge is, I think in a lot of countries with very successful entrepreneurial cultures, there's a big component of venture capital funding that is there, and a big component of loan financing for entrepreneurs. That's a little more difficult, I think, to find in the Philippines. And that's why it's very hard to convince, especially students coming from lower income backgrounds, to convince them to become entrepreneurs, because they really do ask a very valid question. They usually think it's either for the richer class, or they think, I don't have any capital.
Yes, thank you very much. I recall that Secretary Baldos made a statement recently that calling on the OFW community abroad and saying, instead of sending balikbayan boxes filled with corned beef and Kleenex boxes, why don't you send home capital so that your families here can be entrepreneurial? Is that correct, Secretary Baldos?
Yes. We really thought that we have so many corned beefs from different countries already here in the Philippine market, so they might as well spend
They might as well spend the money
here.
Okay,
but,
there's... Yes,
but,
Secretary.
Very seriously about it, we really thought that we should really teach our OFWs, and for that matter, Filipinos, our workers, to really do savings. They should be conscious in ensuring that there is savings, and small capital to start up a business should be part of their planning their career, whether here in the Philippines or overseas.
Yeah, so instead of sending corned beef, you can start a little sari-sari store and sell corned beef. Yes, please, another question.
I have a follow-up question on my question. I firmly believe that the problems of this country come from a mother of all problems that we have. And in referring to our weak feeling of nationhood, we don't have a strong nationhood sense. So can't the schools look at this and start building a stronger Filipino with a stronger sense of nationhood?
Yeah, a stronger sense of nationhood. Would you like to answer that, Dr. Chica? Are we teaching that? Can you teach a stronger sense of nationhood in school?
Well, yes, you can instill the values from the students in the grade school and all, but a lot of it also has to deal with the character of the person, right? I mean, yes, on one hand, you can look at remitting dollars as a service to the country, but at the end of the day, we need the technology, we need the products and services that experts or people who have gone overseas to bring back to the country. Look at the success of India, look at the success of Taiwan. And I think, and again, humility aside, there are still people like me who've worked in Silicon Valley who've come here and imparted what we've learned. Okay, so I think it's very, very possible. It starts with what happens in the family. It starts with what happens with the parents.
Yes, I agree. Thank you very much, Dr. Chica. We have another question. Yes.
Is it me?
Doris?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to share with everybody what we are seeing in the APEC region as far as that new future person. And I'm just responding to this point of entrepreneurship. What is happening is that, well, first of all, our APEC theme this year is inclusive growth as well. And I thought it sounded really idealistic until I researched and found out that there is really amazing convergence today of globalization together with technology. And so this new concept of entrepreneurship that is being explored by many, many countries is really around innovation. So you're looking for educational systems that really develop the best and brightest around math and science. You're looking at putting research and development in schools and really creating innovation centers that encourage young people to be entrepreneurial, not putting in a little business, but it's really creating amazing new businesses out of technology. For example, in India, the person in charge of this effort in Canada told me that in India, these young people are sitting in incubators, developing new systems to help cities make it more efficient systems for the buses and the mass transit. So in other words, it's not just e-commerce, it falls into many different areas. So I just wanted to say that this innovation centers, it's actually what Dado Banatao with PhilDev is pushing for. And I think he's really hoping, and us also in the APEC thing are really hoping that universities come and join in this effort and really be part of this whole innovation initiative. So anyway, I'm here, so in case of that, I can certainly invite you guys and connect you to the other countries that are doing this. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that comment. We have time for another question and comments from our floor. Yes, please.
Well, considering all the great opportunities the Philippines has right now, but also the remaining problems, I think it is in dire needs of heroes. Now, it being in needs of heroes, and considering that we have so many holidays already celebrating heroes, and the question is, of course, to Secretary Baldos, isn't there any possibility to celebrate all the heroes at the same time? Probably as National Heroes Day or something like that. Huh? Second point is, we have so many municipal holidays. I think a great idea would be there to legislate that holidays declared by municipalities will be applicable to people who work and stay in the municipalities where the holiday is declared. Just, some ideas.
Thank you very much for that suggestion. I think we'll leave it to the executive to try and propose one holiday for all heroes. Yes, two more questions from the floor, and I think we'll have to close. Yes, please. Yes.
Ed Jesus, Asian Institute of Management. I think the last 3-4 comments, especially those coming from Mr. Fabella, Dr. Fabella, Mr. Magsaysay, and Ms. Doris Ho, raises raises issues which kind of flies against the usual recommendation about how we prepare our students for employability. The trend has been to offer more and more vocational type courses, even in universities. In fact, the criticism has been that we're vocationalizing our higher education system. But when you take a look at the issues that are being raised, communication skills, critical thinking, dealing with uncertainty, entrepreneurship, nation building, these are issues that are very difficult to teach along a VocTech model. And they are not achieved by VocTech courses. They're in fact achieved by general education, humanities type courses. And yet our direction is forcing us away from that. And I think this is something that our educators will have to contend with. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that pointed comment, Dr. De Jesus. This is something that, as he said, our educators have to think about. And the second question is, can it be taught? Can soft skills be taught? I think we have time for each of our panelists here to react to the questions that have been posited from the floor. One more question.
One more. I just
Yes.
want to stress the mismatch between education and academe, between industry and academe.
Yes.
You know, I'm a CPA practitioner, and 9 out of our 10 clients have their books of accounts in a mess. That means they don't have any competent accountants or even bookkeepers. And then my auditing firm has been looking for competent auditors for 6 months. I cannot find any. So that is something that the educators may have to address.
Thank you, Mr. Enriga. That sounds like an indictment on our educational system. This afternoon, we've been talking about employability. We've been talking about narrowing the gap between the demands of the employers and the output that the educators are presenting. Dr. Fabella has pointed out that they have done tie-ups with business organizations to help bridge that gap. Dr. Salazar talked about employability as the main issue confronting business in education. Mr. Cecilio talked about bridging that gap and talking about soft skills and saying that sometimes these soft skills are what is lacking. Dr. La Chica talked about the needs of the industry are not just soft skills, but rather the technical requirements of the industry itself. And from the floor, we've had several comments about how the lack of sufficient education and educational skills have not been able to fill in much needed jobs that are now being demanded of the educational system. So I think, Dr. Fabella, your job is cut out for you here, restructuring it, and also Dr. Salazar. On that note, I'd like to congratulate again Secretary Baldos for the 9-point wonderful scorecard that has been given to you by Arangkada. And on behalf of this panel, I wish to thank again Mr. Cecilio, Dr. Fabella, Secretary Baldos, Dr. La Chica, and Dr. Salazar. Thank you very much, and a good afternoon to all of you.
Thank you to our speakers, moderator, and panelists. May we request everyone to remain on stage for a photo opportunity.
I contemplate on a
Thank you. We have reached the part of our program wherein we will be awarding the Arangkada Lifetime Achievement Award. And here to present this award is the President of the Philippine Association of Multinational Companies Regional Headquarters, Mr. Shamim Qureshi. Once again, let us welcome Mr. Shamim Qureshi.
Friends of Arangkada, distinguished guests, I'm Shamim Qureshi of Pamuri, the Association of Multinational Companies, Regional Operating Headquarters. Allow me to state a few pertinent points about Pamuri and Regional Headquarters, which are based in the Philippines. They provide substantial operational, logical, and management services to parent companies and their affiliates globally. They generate many well-paid jobs, bring in substantial inward remittances, transfer of technology, and world-class human resources development. A point to remember is that Pamuri was not founded by its members, but by government, who wanted all ROSQs of different nationalities under one umbrella to promote the Philippines as a site for regional operations. It was conceptualized and founded in 1981. Since then, Pamuri, an association of regional and operating headquarter members, has actually promoted the Philippines as a preferred site for regional and operating headquarters. We have been successful, and many MNCs have been attracted to choose the Philippines as a hub for global services, confirming our belief that we will be able to operate in a comfortable and hassle-free environment. We have been supported in this by the BOI, SEC, Department of Immigration, Bureau of Finance, and other agencies that we deal with. And we have also entered into agreements with LGUs, including Makati and Pasig City. We will continue to promote the Philippines, as we are also confident that the government will reciprocate by maintaining and improving relations and regulations which will ensure that regional offices are attracted to and will want to remain in the Philippines. In 2013 and 2014, the JFC has presented the award to former President Fidel Ramos and PESA Director General. I noticed that she's here. Welcome, ma'am. I'll call you later. Today, we are giving the award for the third time. The criteria the JFC set in who to consider nominating are an accomplished person from a private or public sector, has contributed substantially to economic growth of the Philippines through improving investment climate, and will continue to contribute to create increasing jobs and jobs creations. Today, we are pleased to present this award to one of the most distinguished leaders from the private sector, a person whose lifetime over 9 decades has been dedicated to building a better Philippines for all Filipinos. It is my great honor now to invite onto the stage a gentleman who we all know and admire greatly and consider a friend and colleague. May I invite Washington CSEP on the stage, please. May I also invite previous awardees, Lydia De Lima, to join us on the stage. Put that here. No, wait, I'll give it later. Just give it here. Give it here, please. Make Mr. Shorty sit down. Sit down. I'll join you. Okay. Just wait here, please. Allow me to highlight some of the remarkable achievements of our awardee. As a businessman, the firm that bears his name and that he founded as a one-man accountancy practice in 1946 is now the largest accounting and consulting firm in the country. As an educator and philanthropist, educated at Philippine and public schools and UST and Columbia University, Wash supports numerous educational institutions in the country. For example, the Asian Institute of Management, where the Washington Cecil Graduate School of Business bears his names, and Synergy, the NGO that has greatly improved elementary education for millions of children. As a visionary as an advisor, as chairman and trustee of AIM, the Asia Society, the Conference Board, INSED, the New York Stock Exchange, the Council of Foreign Relations New York, and many major corporations in Asia and elsewhere. As a reformer, in speeches and articles and discussions, he tirelessly seeks to improve the Philippines' economy, not primarily for the wealthy corporations and individuals, but for all Filipinos. WASH works to create an environment where all Filipinos can lead dignified, productive lives. He's a model for our forum theme investment now for inclusive growth. He has invested his lifetime for this purpose. WASH is one of the most awarded leaders in the Philippines. We hope that what we are giving him today will be able to fit into an office filled with awards, honorary degrees, and his famous collection of owls. The MOP awarded him as the first management over the year in 1967. It was a decade before the award was given again in 1977. So we could say that he was a management man for a decade at that time. WASH is not verbal results, but continues to work for inclusive, better growth for the country. Now, I have to tell him something personal. It is my personal pleasure to award this award, as I am also qualified as an accountant. I am a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales, and have recently been awarded recognition and a lifetime membership award. The award, language in the award that we state today that we are giving to him is in recognition of outstanding contribution and superb leadership over several decades to achieve highly significant and lasting institutional policy reforms of long-term benefits to people and the economy of the Philippines, given this 3rd day of March 2015 in Makati City, Philippines. Congratulations, WASH.
May we call on all the JFC presidents to come up the stage for a photo opportunity. May we call all the JFC presidents to come up the stage for a photo opportunity.